you don't even know what's happening here because it's not as if this is a high rate of speed right now.
No, we are not going at a high rate of speed, which is a little interesting here because where this pursuit suspect actually is, going northbound on the 110, passing the 91, at least a little further back, there wasn't that much traffic to deal with. But now as we progress northbound, Colleen, as you were saying, you start to kind of work in between that zone where there's stop and go traffic as you approach the 105 and as you continue northbound through downtown, and you can see there a little bit of traffic building. The suspect going all the way over, using all those lanes to that far right lane, using a bit of the shoulder there, and LAPD not taking any chances, staying right behind this suspect. And there's a an open gap of no traffic here. You can see that box truck getting out of, they hear the lights, they see the sirens, and they're hopefully going to do their best to try and stay out of the way. And we hope that all drivers do that. When you see those sirens, when you hear those sirens and see the lights coming your way, we hope that you pull over and not try and get involved in this kind of situation, because we do see a little bit of dangerous driving. This driver fidgeting around, this driver, we don't know. We do know that LAPD is treating this as a possibly armed suspect, and they have been driving relatively dangerously, now using the shoulder on this 110 northbound, passing Redondo Beach Boulevard, kind of thinking about whether they want to take that exit, and now we're leaning a little bit more towards the left, which means this driver is going to commit to the 110 northbound, and we're going to go towards South LA, and LAPD still staying close behind this one.
Yeah, you cannot expect to go much further north on the 110 freeway and not hit significant traffic at this time of day. I mean, it's just going to happen, but that's not necessarily something that is what we want to see, because the way this person is driving, lane splitting, going across back and forth into the carpool lane, onto the shoulder, passing people on the shoulder is one of those things that I've always found very troubling in these chases, because it's just something that the person who's in their commute, doing their best just to get home, is not waiting on. You're not expecting that, and you certainly don't see 7 police cars coming on the heels of this. So it's very dangerous, even though at this point it's not going unusual speeds to try to elude authorities, but it is a very dangerous pursuit, and it could get much worse as this person gets into traffic if we find out he's armed, or if they are armed.
Because this is a suspected armed robbery suspect, but we do not know exactly where the armed robbery may have taken place. So again, we do treat this as a suspected armed robbery suspect. And again, this driver is going in and out of lanes and then going into that fast pass area. So Gabe, I see we can hear
and
you
the driver. Yeah, Colleen, we got a tip here from our assignment desk, who's also monitoring everything here, that there might be an animal on the driver's lap. So we're trying to zoom in again through those tilted
Gabe,
windows.
I need to interrupt you for just a moment. We're going to end our live coverage here. We're going to continue on our streaming at abc7.com or on our ABC7 Los Angeles app. But we're going to go to World News Tonight with David Muir next.
We'll be back for Eyewitness News at 4 o'clock. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you on the stream. So now we're back on the stream, and you can see exactly what we were talking about there. Gabe, when we were on linear, you were about to say what you had learned from our assignment desk, and you said that right as the suspect put his hand out the sunroof and began to show his flag like he's doing right there, a flag or a banner. There are any number of country flags that could have those colors, so we're not going to speculate as to what the flag is particularly, but you heard something. What did you hear?
Yeah, Philip, so we are hearing that our assignment desk may have seen possibly an animal, maybe a dog, on the suspect's lap. So as we go under the 105-110 interchange, we're trying to get Air 7 HD. We're navigating the LAX airspace, so that's going to be a little difficult here as we progress northbound. Pilot Johnny here doing a great job doing that. And going back to the tip we heard, it does appear that there may be an animal in this driver's lap. So that just kind of elevates the level of danger and the level of just, what must be going through this driver's mind. Why is he doing this? Why does he have an animal in the car? And what does this flag mean that's coming up through the sunroof? You're absolutely right, Philip, about it could mean a number of different things right now, and we don't want to speculate exactly what it does mean until we can get some confirmation of that. But as we kind of get a closer angle here, Josh, our photographer, zooming in very close, we're trying to work around the tinted windows, maybe see through the windshield here to get an idea of what that driver is possibly holding in his or her lap. And we're just going to have to kind of work with the air traffic and work with the angles here the best we can, and just kind of move forward with that in mind, that this driver may also have an animal along with being possibly armed, possibly armed robbery suspect.
Yeah, it actually makes me think hopefully it's their animal and it's not injured or anything, but I always think about how many people are now stealing in a kind of a violent way people's animals, specifically certain like really expensive breeds. So hopefully this is their animal, and again, we don't exactly know what exactly prompted this pursuit. Alleged armed robbery. We do not know where. We do not know any of the circumstances. I know our assignment desk is probably really trying very hard, but when there's these pursuits taking place, it's very hard to get a hold of authorities because all eyes are on this as well. To kind of figure out how are you going to get it to an end.
And we know we have limited information as to how it started, other than it is an armed robbery suspect. We don't even know if this car may have been carjacked. So there is the possibility, however remote, that this is someone else's car, someone else's dog, and this person was in multiple crimes. But as you mentioned, we just don't know at this point, other than it seems to me, Gabe, that LAPD is taking this seriously enough, because they haven't handed it off to CHP. It's been on the freeways now for 30 minutes or so. LAPD is maintaining a pretty high rate of contact, in that the officers are right behind. They've not gone into surveillance mode. And to me, that says something as well. What are you thinking, Gabe?
Well, Philip, you're absolutely right. Along those lines, we've seen, especially in recent years, LAPD has taken a more laid-back approach to pursuits. They go into surveillance mode. They let the helicopter do the following, and they don't leave the ground units tailing as close as we are seeing right now. So in seeing this behavior from LAPD, that does lead one to believe that they have some kind of vested interest in whatever crime these suspects committed, and they may know something that we don't know at this point right now, especially because you have this one unit staying pretty close alongside this pursuit vehicle, and you do have, at least we've counted, 7 other vehicles in this pursuit package, LAPD calls it, that are all involved here, and that just leads you to believe that LAPD is very interested in these suspects. They want them to stop, and there's also a level of safety to the public that needs to be considered, because they are treating this as a possibly armed suspect, and they don't want this suspect to go on and commit, any other crimes as far as, harming anybody with a weapon. We've also seen this aggressive driving. That just gives LAPD more of an incentive to hopefully bring this to an end as quick as they can.
Yeah, and how fast, I don't know if our sky map is showing the speed, but I just trying to kind of gauge
57 miles an hour.
How fast did you just say it?
Yeah, so we're kind of going in the high 50s here, low 60s. It should be pointed out that this driver is actually in the carpool lane, the elevated carpool lane, as it goes northbound on the 110, and there's not a lot of traffic there. That's an area, that's an overpass where you could really go, 75. And be totally fine. There's no traffic in front of this guy right now.
Doesn't it also run out? I mean, eventually it stops, and if you're either fed back onto the freeway, or you're going to end up on surface streets.
Right.
Exactly.
So, but that's the thing. It's 3:35, and this is when the congestion really begins. If you're out and about, certainly heading through downtown, you're going to find all of the interchanges are going to really start to get very crowded.
I just wonder at the end of this, because again, this is sort of, I drive this in my sleep almost. I know this area corridor very well, and it is going to end. And I'm wondering if law enforcement are thinking, okay, well, now this person absolutely cannot go anywhere, because they are sort of corralled into those 2 lanes. One lane that the driver's in right now will end up funneling right onto the 110 north, and the other one will then end up kind of going over by more like USC area. You're seeing it kind of right there, but I think that's also
So
a
he looks like he's merging onto the freeway.
We're playing right over the Coliseum right now, guys. So this is getting towards, like you said, where these carpool lanes come to an end. And as you're saying, if you stay to the left, you'll get spit out onto surface streets that'll take you into the Expo Park area, and if you lean more to the right, then you're funneled onto the 110, which, looking out the helicopter window, the 110 northbound is almost at a dead stop. You can see it right there in the frame, and it looks like this suspect is leaning more toward the left, so that's going to take him onto surface streets into Expo Park, where a lot of USC students might be out and about and around. And this could get very interesting here as this pursuit looks like it's about to transition towards surface streets.
Well, this is a part where it's also a possibility that LAPD might act a bit more aggressively, because the person is going to have to slow down and they're going to have to make some turns, and that is going to open the door for a possible pit maneuver. And you've noticed several times where LAPD closes that gap. Now we're going back across and getting onto the freeway. Yeah, so I think the person realized that at some point the person realized they were not going to be able to continue going north. So now we're back here doing what he was doing a minute ago, and that is these dangerous lane changes.
And I wonder, Philip, if this suspect's actually familiar with the area, because that would lead one to believe that you might have a better opportunity of at least continuing forward if you stay on the 110, albeit at a bit of a slower pace. Then, and you can see there, maybe this driver saw this CHP unit possibly setting up for spike strips. We don't know that at this time, but where that vehicle was, he could have possibly seen that CHP unit possibly setting up for spike strips, and decided to make that abrupt right turn, crossing the gore point. And now we're on the 110, on the shoulder of the 110, bypassing all of this traffic. This driver pretty much making his own lane, going, it looks like about 60 miles an hour, getting around this traffic and continuing northbound, kind of dodging between the left shoulder and that fast lane. LAPD not letting this driver get any space between them and staying right behind that suspect.
Yeah, it's just, I feel for all of these drivers as well, because this is very unsettling when you see all of these black and whites right behind you with the lights going, and you're thinking, what the heck is going on? And then you see that car, and you can't help but wonder what's going on with the flag, with the person inside, moving all about inside the car. I can't understand, when is this person going to sort of give up? Because
they may have to, because you've said that you're familiar with these roads, but remember, there's nowhere, we've watched this person drive on the shoulder quite aggressively, but there are times where there is no shoulder, through this section. So you're either in the commute or you're stopped. Yeah. And so this person is clearly trying. And then if you notice, several people pull over onto the shoulder to give the right of way to officers. They can hear them, they can see them.
I didn't know that there's
person.
There was a case.
Right there.
It hasn't been popping up in my
that
feed.
looks to be a weapon. That was a gun thrown out of the car. You could see
So
LAPD officers stopping by to pick up that evidence, and more officers continuing in pursuit of that. But that is clearly a piece of evidence thrown out of the vehicle that will certainly be used in the investigation as officers figure out what crimes this suspect may have committed.
Well, you kind of are glad that he threw. You have to assume there's more than one weapon in there, of course, but it does give some optimism that he discarded the weapon so that won't be used in any future confrontation. But again, now we're back at a little bit more of an open area. Still on he's moved on to the 10, or is he on the 110 there still?
Yeah, we're still on the 110 northbound, going under the 10. This is an area where the suspect has they have a point to decide if they can either go on the westbound 10 or the eastbound 10. It looks like this driver's taking the ramp onto the westbound 10 from the northbound 110. And as I look behind my shoulder, there's not a lot of traffic on that westbound 10, so this could open a pathway for this driver to pick up some speed and get to a little less populated of an area in terms of the evening commute traffic.
Yeah, I don't see a dog there, or do you? We're looking inside the cat. You can, for one, see
Yeah, this
inside the
is the
cat right there.
this is the best angle, Colleen, that we've had really at the driver itself. And we want to be clear, it was a it was a tip of a possibility of an animal in the car.
Right.
Not that we weren't able to confirm that. And looking at this angle, it does appear, gratefully so, that this driver might not have an animal in the car, which hopefully, as far as distractions are concerned, that's one less distraction that this driver has. Although, with the sunroof open, with the flag outside, throwing weapons out of the vehicle, it's just hard to say what's going through this suspect's mind at this time.
Well, that was a massive development when the weapon came out of the vehicle, because we had, as Colleen had mentioned before, a lot of this was alleged armed robbery suspect. We had known why authorities were potentially chasing them, but we didn't know if there was actually an armed suspect in the vehicle. But having watched the person throw a weapon out of the vehicle, that went a little bit beyond alleged. So we saw that. That was a significant development, and it kind of explains why officers are so connected to this chase and not just standing back and letting this person drive in a surveillance mode, because this was an armed suspect, and it is likely they knew this, which is one of the reasons probably that they just have not given up control of this chase. This, again, because it's on the freeways, so many times when you see the freeways, it's a CHP chase. The only time we've seen a CHP officer was on the 110 at the end of the carpool lane, when they had kind of stopped and were blocking a lane, and that's when the suspect took off and got back onto the freeway.
It's always interesting to see the helicopter so low right above it, because, again, you can't help but take your, there's so many people that are right now in this whole area seeing that low flying helicopter, knowing something is going on. And because that suspect is not driving in crazy fast fashion, you kind of, it's just an unusual, it's like sort of a slow moving pursuit, even though I know that they're going with the flow of traffic, but many times we see these pursuit suspects going in the triple digits. So.
Well, this suspect, beyond the speed, it's the switching of the lanes, going over 4 or 5 lanes in one move, on the shoulder, splitting lanes,
Yes.
Going back and forth. So even though he's not been going very fast, he's been dangerous. I'm
wondering where he's going to end up going. I mean, are they going to continue on the one in this area? Where on earth are they going to? And you don't know. By the way, when we're talking about, we don't exactly know where this alleged armed robbery may have taken place, but we don't know if they triggered this call.
Yeah, I mean, we know it originated near Vernon. Yeah, go ahead.
To give you guys some additional information, LAPD is telling us now that this may have been a Grand Theft Auto situation where this may be a stolen vehicle, so that may be why LAPD may be staying so close alongside this vehicle, because if it wasn't a stolen vehicle, then they would be able to use the license plate to be able to track down a suspect and so on and so forth. But if this is someone who may have used a weapon to commandeer this vehicle, then that gives LAPD a little bit more of a reason to stay close with this suspect and understand that this is possibly a violent person, although it's definitely a good sign that at least weapon we've seen and we've been able to confirm was thrown out of the vehicle. As we continue westbound on this 10 freeway and looking ahead out the helicopter window, it is Thursday, almost 4 o'clock now, and there's not a lot of traffic in the westbound direction, almost all the way through passing the 405 into Santa Monica. So this driver really picked kind of the best freeway in the Southland, that this guy could just cruise along at about 65, 70 miles an hour. And you have to wonder if this driver has some kind of message to deliver, if this person, with the flag and all of that sort, may be just wanting to, cruise alongside and continue on in a pursuit for attention and for reasons along those lines. Just things that you always have to wonder when situations like this develop. Continuing along the 10 freeway through Mid-City in the westbound direction, we're going to go through Culver City, the 405. We've been on the 405 before, so it'll be interesting to see if this suspect continues southbound on the 405, towards LAX, towards the South Bay, or if we continue northbound and go to a place where we haven't yet been in this pursuit, towards Brentwood, the Sepulveda Pass, and the San Fernando Valley. But this is certainly an interesting one. This driver could be going faster. This driver is, driving a little more calm right now and staying in one lane. So you have to wonder, what's the point? Is this person just enjoying the last few minutes of freedom that they may have, or do they have some other motives, something else that they want to do here? Maybe in situations in the past you've seen, these drivers may want to go to a family member's home and see them for the last time before they get taken to jail for whatever crimes they may be accused of.
Well, when you're trying to get a perspective on speed and you see people passing this person and the stream of LAPD officers behind him, did you notice that person? And there's another. They're actually passing this person in the pursuit. So, Gabe, do we have lights flashing? Or do we have sirens and lights on this? Because you would think that if you had lights and sirens going for the community, there they are. That's kind of an odd thing to pass a pursuit, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. LAPD has 5 cars in this pursuit, and usually the car in the rear, as I look, straight down at this pursuit outside of Air 7, the last patrol car in the pursuit package is usually doing round robins to prevent traffic from continuing northbound. But I'm not really seeing that with this vehicle in the far back of the pursuit. You're also seeing this pursuit kind of pass some traffic, and then some of that traffic is staying with the pursuit and then passing the pursuit again. So LAPD kind of using some interesting procedures here as far as, guarding how close people get to this pursuit. They don't seem to be that interested in keeping people too far away from this pursuit, which maybe because that weapon was tossed, that gives them some reason to believe that this suspect maybe is a little less dangerous. But it's hard to kind of move forward with that logic, because you always have to, and most law enforcement agencies always have to treat these situations as someone that could be very dangerous. As you see there, the driver now messing with the flag a little bit. It appears to be attached to maybe the rear view mirror, and that's what's holding it on. And he's also kind of fiddling around in the inside there, maybe on the phone. It looks like we can see a little bit of a phone there through the tinted windows. This person may be texting, calling people. As we continue, westbound on the 10, we're just about in Culver City right now, passing National Boulevard, and we're going to hit the 405. There's no traffic between here and the 405. This guy can continue on as we get a little bit pretty close to a bus there, but doesn't seem to impact this driver at all.
Just lucky. You called it a moment
Very
ago.
lucky.
Very, very lucky. For all of us who have to navigate these freeways on the daily, it's amazing to see how lucky this driver has gotten by choosing this freeway.
Well, he's also heading back
all the freeways in the Southland,
and he's heading back in the direction of familiarity, because he was on the 405 at one point. So he may be. We've seen chases continue into areas that they're familiar with, either neighborhood or freeways, and this person has been on the 405, on the 110, now on the 10, on the 105. So basically, this is now heading back in the general direction of where this was at one point. There was 110 in Slauson, on Manchester, so they were all over the 110. But now this is really seemingly slowing down. And again, this is a grand theft auto, but we also saw a weapon tossed from the window, so it could have been a carjacking as well. There's so much that we don't know, other than the fact that this person is not pulling over and the LAPD is not giving up on this chase.
Yeah, Philip, sorry, we're monitoring a couple of different things on the radio here. But, we're continuing in the westbound direction here, very close, maybe a mile out from the 405. This driver's going to reach a decision-making point, kind of flirting with that right lane there. If the driver gets in that right lane, that will mean that this guy will continue in the southbound direction on the 405. Looks like he's slowing down. We're really slowing the pace down of this pursuit. Now LAPD is starting to keep traffic back, although we may see some cars, just because they're approaching so fast, they may be able to pass this guy on the left side. And it looks like this guy's going to continue on the 10 westbound. So we're passing at least the ramp that allows you to go onto the southbound 405. which, looking at the traffic on that southbound 405, that is that's a good move if you are this pursuit driver. And this guy's also seeing the traffic on the ramp to the northbound 405, and it looks like he's going to stay in these westbound 10 lanes.
Gabe, since we are going to do a measure of housekeeping here, we're going to hand it off to you and let you take care of this chase during the remainder of our streaming coverage of this. Eyewitness News at 4 o'clock is about to get underway, and we have to do a couple of things here in studio to get that ready. So the chase continues, and Gabe Santos is going to keep you updated here on the stream. But then don't forget to join us for Eyewitness News at 4 o'clock here in a moment.
All right, thank you, Philip and Colleen, and thank you for joining us. If you're with us on abc7.com and our ABC7 streaming apps and platforms, we've been following this pursuit of a robbery suspect, a possibly armed robbery suspect. Well, we know they were armed at some point because at about 10 minutes ago in this pursuit, we saw the suspect toss a gun out the window. We don't know if there's any other weapons in the vehicle. LAPD has to treat this suspect as if there is still a danger there. You never know if there could be any more weapons in the vehicle. This pursuit, we got word of it at about 2:45 p.m. in the South LA area. It was going kind of up and down Flower and the 110 freeway, passing Slauson, monitoring a couple items of radio traffic here. And the suspect then went southbound on the 110, westbound on the 105, southbound on the 405, back northbound on the 110, and now we've been on the 10 westbound for quite some time here, not going very fast, kind of keeping speeds under 50 miles an hour, and now we're coming up on an exit here. This is the Sawtell exit in the Santa Monica area, and this driver is at the point of no return here, getting off the 10 freeway. I'm a little surprised at this because the 10 freeway is completely clear all the way to the coast. This guy could have been able to drive for miles without having any issues as far as traffic goes. But now this pursuit may get a little bit more dangerous because we're on Sawtell, Bundy. We're on Bundy. That was the Sawtell off-ramp. And you have vehicles going at a bit slower pace. And it looks like we're going to cross back onto the on-ramp to the eastbound 10 freeway. So a little bit of an interesting development there. It was kind of a toss-up over whether this driver would stay on surface streets, but judging from what we've seen earlier in this pursuit has been mainly on the highway. So, looking at that, it's kind of no surprise that he got back onto the highway. Now we're getting on the eastbound 10. There's a lot of traffic on this eastbound 10, almost all the way towards downtown. This driver will have to make a couple of decisions here. He'll have the option, as you see there, to go on the 405 north or the 405 south, both of which are highly congested right now. This driver has no option but to deal with the congestion in either direction, whether he's going east, south, north, and it looks like he's going to stay on that 10 freeway, at least bypassing the option to go on the 405 north, continuing on the 10 east, and LAPD not letting this one go at all. They haven't given this up to CHP, which again is a little bit interesting because of the amount of time this driver has been on highways. In a lot of cases such as this, you would see LAPD give this up to CHP and then let CHP deal with it for the duration that the pursuit is on a highway. But you have to consider what LAPD may want this suspect for as we cross over from that far right lane. And a little bit of aggressive driving there as we go into the far left-hand shoulder. And we've seen this behavior before. This driver is going to use the far left shoulder along the center median, turn that into a lane, and just continue around a lot of this traffic. It's kind of a blessing in disguise, I would say, because I would be worried to see if this driver gets blocked in, what kind of behavior that would lead to. At least if this driver is still moving, he's not trying to crash into anybody, which that we've seen in a lot of pursuits where they get, where the driver gets stuck, they panic, and they resort to ramming their vehicle into other vehicles. We definitely don't want to see that, and that is just, what can happen in situations like this. So we're still on this left shoulder on the 10 eastbound. We've passed the 405. We're going to continue through Culver City, Mid-City, and you never know with these situations. A lot of the time you see these drivers stick to places that they know or start doing circles around places that they know. In this case, This driver has made certain on and off ramp decisions and exit decisions to imply to me that he kind of has a familiarity with at least the South LA area, maybe a bit of the west side. That's just a guess, but with a lot of the decisions he's making, one could believe that that may be the case. Just monitoring some of the LAPD radio traffic here as we continue on the 10 eastbound. We have multiple let's see, we have an LAPD helicopter over this. We have a CHP plane over this, which again are all kind of normal procedures with a pursuit like this, staying on the highway. Copy, 2 minutes. Copy that. And just to give you all joining us on the web, on our streaming channel, everywhere ABC7 streams, we have Eyewitness News at 4 p.m. coming up on the television. So you'll be able to tune to Channel 7 and see continuing coverage of this pursuit of an armed robbery suspect, possibly armed robbery involving this Mercedes. We believe, at least from the latest word that we've got from LAPD, that this Mercedes has been stolen. And you can see there this pursuit coming, slowing down a little bit behind a white van. The LAPD vehicle right behind him opens the door a little bit, hopefully hoping for an end to this pursuit. But this driver gets a little scared there and scurries around to the right side using the right shoulder there. And there's a lot of traffic to be seen here on the eastbound 10. But really the only option for this driver to continue on is to use the shoulder, and we definitely see this driver doing that. You never know if someone's going to be pulled over on the shoulder. That could be an interesting development as we continue in the eastbound lanes here. And you can see there LAPD staying very close behind this vehicle. I'm going to take a quick pause here. We're getting things ready on the studio side for Eyewitness News at 4 p.m. We'll be going to that coverage very shortly here. I'll be joining you all for that. Just going to take 1 second here. All right, we're 30 seconds away from Eyewitness News at 4 p.m. I'll be joined by the anchors of that show. I believe it's going to be Ellen Leva and David Ono. As we continue our coverage of a robbery suspect, possibly armed in a stolen Mercedes, continuing eastbound on the 10. We're going to go on TV here momentarily. Stand by with us. Yeah, Giovanna, this pursuit is definitely coming to an interesting point right here as we see the driver coming to a complete stop in the middle of lanes on the 10 freeway. We're in the eastbound lanes in the Culver City area, just passing Robertson Boulevard, Palms. You can see their LAPD staying very close behind this suspect. As you said, this is a robbery suspect wanted for a possible Grand Theft Auto, possibly involving this vehicle, this black Mercedes. We've been over this pursuit for the better part of an hour now. This pursuit started in and around the South LA area. It was going up and down the 110, up and down Flower, and then this pursuit was able to continue southbound on the 110, westbound on the 105, southbound on the 405, and then back northbound on the 110. We took the 10 all the way west, almost towards Santa Monica. The driver got off on the Sawtell exit on Bundy, and then started continuing eastbound on the 10 freeway. What's interesting about that is that there's a lot of traffic in these eastbound lanes that this driver is going to have to deal with, and we've seen this driver utilize either the left shoulder or the right shoulder to get around some of this traffic. We've also seen a little bit of aggravated driving from this traffic, or levels of both aggravated driving and some calm driving. Like right now, we're seeing this driver kind of slow down and go even slower than the pace of some of this very slow traffic. And then we're seeing points where when LAPD gets close, this driver will use some of those shoulders and really kind of drive at high speeds around some of this traffic. It looks like it looks like something was thrown out right there, and we've seen that from this suspect before. Earlier, when this driver was on the 110 North, we saw the suspect throw a gun out of the window, which checks out with what we believe this suspect to be wanted for, which is possibly an armed robbery. I wasn't able to get a good eye on what that suspect threw out right there. The other interesting thing you have is obviously there's a flag hanging out of the sunroof of this stolen Mercedes-Benz. Those colors could equate to a number of different countries, maybe a cause. So we're not going to speculate exactly what that could be from at this point, but definitely makes you wonder exactly what this pursuit driver, what this suspect may want, whether he wants to bring attention to a cause or whether he's just trying to get away at this point.
Wow, and we're seeing very agitated car right now.
Yeah, he's moving around a lot. He seems like he's shuffling through some. I mean, it's hard to see through the windshield, but he's doing something right now. He's driving slowly, perhaps because he's trying to take care of something in the vehicle that he wants to do. Who knows? Maybe it's hide evidence.
I don't know.
We don't
know. Though we've been watching him for quite some time now, Giovanna, and this is the most agitated this driver has taken on. We know that the sunroof had been open most of the time. The sunroof was just recently closed. We know that the flag, he definitely wants to make sure he's displaying the colors of that flag. We know that. We know that this has originated from an armed robbery suspect. Now, Gabe, did we find out, is this a stolen car?
We believe that to be the case from the latest word we have from LAPD right now, is that this vehicle is stolen and this suspect is wanted for possibly the Grand Theft Auto of this vehicle. So that's the information that we're running with right now as far as what LAPD is telling us. Check.
All right, Gabe, yeah, we can hear you. And because this is a Grand Theft Auto vehicle, potentially, that's what authorities are telling us. It's possible this flag was on the vehicle when he took the car,
well,
or I don't know.
It's probably not, because they're so adamant on waving the flag when they're driving. And like I said, the sunroof has been open. The person has been very targeted with their actions by holding that flag a lot and trying to unfurl it when it kind of gets wound up like this. So it leads one to believe that it's intentional.
Is this a political statement then?
Or something. It's intentional to have this flag out. What the statement is they're trying to make, I'm not quite sure.
All right, and now
it's definitely intentional there, guys. You know, you have to wonder what exactly the reasoning is to have that flag out of the sunroof. Earlier we saw the sunroof open, and now we see it closed. So not sure what that means exactly as far as what the driver is going through. I wanted to point out, you know, we saw this driver using the shoulders, using the left shoulder and using the right shoulder, but on the right shoulder we saw a vehicle actually parked in those lanes. So this driver had to get back into traffic, and now he's back into normal lanes, continuing, you know, really slower than what, now he's going a little bit faster than some of the traffic, but I wonder if that's just because some of these drivers hear the lights and see the sirens, and that's why they're kind of going a little bit slower. And what's happening now is all these other drivers are using the shoulder, and they're kind of, you know, making a pathway for this pursuit to get through as people hear it coming towards them, which is really, you know, that's kind of the best thing you can do, is just to get out of the way, stay out of the way, and let this pursuit go past you. But it's very interesting to see, you know, we're well into rush hour now, and this pursuit continuing eastbound on the 10 freeway around the Fairfax Avenue exit.
And traffic stopping there, as you can see on the freeway here, and you see 3 patrol units behind him. And I don't know if you noticed, but that officer right behind the suspect's vehicle opened his car door, his driver's side door. Perhaps he thought that was the opportunity to get out, but the suspect then merged over to the right and is now driving between lanes, which we've seen him do before. Earlier in this pursuit, we've seen him change, you know, from, you know, 2 to 3, 4 lanes at a time, and then drive in between lanes as well. But he is driving much slower than he was earlier, although to Colleen's point she made earlier, this hasn't really been a high-speed pursuit. He has been following generally going
He
rate
has.
of,
It's so-
60, 65 on the freeway.
Right, we see so many high-speed pursuits, and the one other thing too, this driver seems to flirt with taking an exit, but then never really commits to it, and then veers right back onto the freeway. So clearly, this driver feels more comfortable driving on the freeway. Not sure if because the driver may not know the certain areas, but again, Giovanni, you and I both, we take these freeways a lot. When you see the police cars coming, you don't necessarily know that they're on a pursuit. You just know you have to get out of the way, especially when you see several police cars and you see their lights and sirens going and you see the helicopters overhead. So again, and you know what, we've been on this pursuit for quite some time. Bruce Thomas, our law enforcement expert, he's joining us now over the phone. Bruce, it's always great for you to join us in these pursuits because we call on your expertise. Because this one, as every pursuit, they're all different. They have a lot of similarities. Obviously, they're in a car and driving, but this driver has not taken the advantage of having these open freeways and really open up that engine of the car. We know it's a fast car. They haven't really been. I don't think I've seen this driver go over 65, 70 miles an hour yet on this pursuit. What are you thinking when you're watching this pursuit?
Yeah, like you said, every pursuit is different. They have similarities because they're running from the police. But other than that, in this case, he's kind of obeyed the speed limit. Yeah, he's weaved in and out of traffic, but he hasn't been a danger to the public. So I know it started as a following, and now it's in a full pursuit mode. And that's something that the watch commander is taking into account, is the driver's actions.
Yeah.
And Bruce, a question, because sometimes authorities will pull off of a pursuit. Sometimes when they know who the driver is, they have the license plate information. In this case, they're staying close behind. Is it because it is a Grand Theft Auto suspect?
Well, also because there is a robbery of some sort that went down, and the suspect is possibly armed and dangerous. What people don't take into account is the GTA, or Grand Theft Auto, which is taking the vehicle. However, in order to get that felony filing, you have to either alter the vehicle or hide it from the true owner. So basically taking it like it is now, it's basically like a joyride.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're talking about the weapons. Earlier, we saw the suspect throw a weapon out on the 110. And we know that the suspect also has thrown something else out. We didn't get a good eye on what that suspect threw out on the freeway. But again, police are not giving up on this. This is not going into the CHP area. I know we're approaching La Brea right now on the 110 on the 10. So this is a highly traveled area, but why do you think the CHP, since this has stayed on the freeway the whole time, why isn't the CHP taking over this pursuit?
LAPD may not be relinquishing control at this point. In other words, basically through, through mutual aid, they have not requested CHP as the speeds are not higher and the suspect is not on the freeway doing crazy things.
Yeah.
So what is the strategy at this point? To wait it out, to follow this person and see and wait for an opportunity to maybe conduct a pit maneuver, or hopefully he stops? What are authorities
well, right now they're going to stay behind this suspect, and they do believe that he or she or the vehicle will eventually pull off the freeway, maybe go back to the area it was started. However, in this case, you're on the 10 freeway eastbound. They're going to run into some major traffic as they approach downtown. So at this point, there's really no need to do anything but just follow.
Yeah, and as we've been noticing in the past, the LAPD taking a much more cautious approach to a lot of pursuits, calling them off if they need to, if they become too dangerous. We know that the suspect did have a weapon. They threw it out their window. We don't know if they have any more than one weapon. But as of right now, the way that this pursuit is going, it seems like they are just going to stay on it. They're not going to call this one off.
Yeah, the studies have shown the last couple of years, the uninvolved third-party traffic collisions due to pursuits has gone up. And so that's part of the risk management of a pursuit, is weighing the safety of not only the officers and the public was suspect too, but we take all that into account.
Yeah, well, for good reason, obviously. Again, the suspect's going to be getting into the slow lane. Never know if they're going to take an exit because they haven't taken an exit. Yes, they haven't done surface streets, so we don't actually know exactly the location where this car may have been stolen.
Yeah, we don't know that, but we do know that this started about 3 o'clock. And as Gabe Santos was telling us, this suspect led police on a chase throughout South Los Angeles and onto several freeways. He was on the 105, the 405, the 110, now on the 10 freeway. And then there's that puzzling piece to all of this, that flag. What do you make of this, Bruce? Any idea? And now we see him exiting. We believe that this is Crenshaw.
You know, we were trying, while I was on hold, I was talking with your assignment desk, and we were trying to figure out what flag it is, because I know that there have been some protests recently in the last couple of days involving some various countries in the Russian area. But in this case, we couldn't figure it out, and I don't know what the purpose of that flag is. It's obviously some political statement, but I don't think anybody understands what that statement is except the suspect.
Bruce, I want to ask you one more question. Does the strategy change as he's exiting the freeway and onto surface streets? But right now, let's address what's happening right now. We're seeing officers exit the vehicle. Nope, now they're getting back in the car and they're continuing to follow. Does the strategy change? Does the danger level increase on surface streets?
Yeah, great question. As we go onto the streets, the pit maneuver comes into
Look
play.
at this. He just threw something to someone right there. He gave somebody something. Yeah. And now I don't think the police know that yet, because that one gentleman with the white shirt that was at the corner took something from that suspect. The suspect threw something to him. So Gabe, you're right there.
I would hope that they would
Bruce, Bruce, 1 second right there. Gabe, did you get an idea of what was thrown to that person on the side of the freeway?
We're going the other way. Going the other way, Josh. So it was definitely hard to tell what was exchanged between the person on the sidewalk and the driver, but we do know that the air unit, the LAPD air unit overhead, did see what who was involved in that, and we're seeing some very aggressive driving as we're going northbound now on Crenshaw Boulevard, now on the wrong side of the road. This is some extreme driving, hitting almost 80 miles an hour here, continuing northbound. We were using that median lane, and now we're back on the right side of the lane. Now this driver's hopefully slowing down a little bit, going through hopefully that intersection had a green light. Now we're hitting some traffic, so we're slamming on the brakes and going back onto the shoulder here. There's a parked car. We're going to go onto the sidewalk now. It's going to be hard to see here as we go under a tree. We're going to see that car come back out from that driveway, from using that sidewalk. Hopefully LAPD was able to get around that car as well. And we're continuing northbound now on Crenshaw. Really excessive rates of speed. Definitely unsafe for this neighborhood. If you're in the mid-city area, just stay off the roads if you can and lock your doors, because you don't know if this driver may try to jump out of the car if he gets stuck. That could definitely lead to a very dangerous situation. It looks like LAPD taking no chances. They're getting around this traffic as well. And those 77th Division who've been following this pursuit from the very beginning are staying very close to this vehicle. Now that first patrol car right behind the vehicle, they have the doors open, and it looks like we may have had some contact between the suspect vehicle and that silver Nissan over there on the right side. And it looks like this driver, almost in a panic, the truck may be getting involved, possibly blocking him in. This truck, it's hard to tell if this truck is trying to get involved or if this is just accidental.
It's absolutely intentionally trying to get involved.
The suspect driver is almost pinned in there. You can see LAPD seeing the situation, and the suspect has hands out of the window. This is definitely a good sign. Who knows if this truck is possibly law enforcement or just a concerned citizen. LAPD has guns drawn, and the suspect has their hands out of the window, and hopefully, after we saw this pursuit go through a very dangerous phase on Surface Street from Crenshaw Boulevard north of the 10, hopefully we're seeing this thing come to an end here now.
Yeah, I'm wondering about this, the truck. You're kind of thinking, I hope that truck stays there, but I'm also kind of concerned for that person inside the cab, because if you
they're asking him to leave.
Just get out of the car,
to exit the vehicle.
They're telling him to get out. They're telling him to get out. And these LAPD officers have to also be concerned of the drivers that were going southbound on Crenshaw, they're yelling at them to get out of the way too, to leave their cars parked and get out of the way, because there's the issue of crossfire. If officers have to use their weapons for any reason, they want to make sure that there's nobody in harm's way. And you can see that suspect not using the door for some reason and climbing out of the window, hands on the pavement,
Maybe they
and he's
told
going
him
to
to
continue
do this. Yes.
trying to climb out of the window.
Yeah.
That would be a very
Yeah,
unusual
definitely,
way
yeah.
for officers to tell a suspect to get out of the vehicle, but
Maybe they don't
you
know how
never
to,
know.
maybe they actually don't know how to get out of the cars. Every now and then you get into a car and
Now,
you can't figure
found
out
that
where
truck,
the handle is to get out of the car.
he
And
put
you're
his
kind
own
of
life
freaking
in
out now.
danger
You have
just
to
to
get out of the
stop
car
this
so
case.
quickly because it looks like
Good
his
point.
pants are stuck there. And there is nothing easy about this exit of the vehicle, that's for sure.
He does look stuck at this point. In LAPD, they may be using this other vehicle on the top right of the frame to try and get a little bit closer to the suspect and use the vehicle as a source of cover. They're going to use the door to get a little bit closer and hopefully
The guy with the truck,
either
I
grab
don't know
the
if you
suspect
saw,
and
but
bring him
he
into
got
custody
out. I
that
don't
way,
know where
or at
he
least
went.
get close enough to be able to see if the suspect is actually stuck or if he's dealing with something else.
Right, and he may be under the influence. That is always a possibility. And we did see him throw one gun out of the vehicle. They do not know if
Yeah,
he
these
has any
officers,
other
man,
weapons in that
they're
vehicle.
not
So
gonna
they
take
have to
any
take every
chances.
precaution possible.
Yeah.
It is odd that the suspect is climbing out the window. We do wonder why he didn't just open the door, but
Clearly thought it was going to be a much easier
This is-
exit as well.
it
Did
looks
not
stuck.
realize they'd be
Is
stuck right there on the
stuck?
windowsill of the. I mean, I can't. I feel for the suspect trying to get out of this car right now. It can't get out. They can't get out
Oh,
quickly,
my
and
God.
all these
the
officers
suspect put
are
a lot of people
nervous.
in danger this
Well,
afternoon. So
No, I'm just saying in general how
yeah.
you can get the officers are trying to figure out how do we get you out of there without putting our lives at risk as well.
It's a precarious and almost, a borderline dangerous position because we are in a very populated area. We're in the middle of the mid-city neighborhood, in the middle of Crenshaw Boulevard. There's apartments and homes on both sides of the roadway. It's hard to tell if those, what the suspect may have dropped there in front of him, but he does appear to be stuck. So definitely an almost embarrassing situation for this
Right.
suspect to be in.
What is he
LAPD
stuck on? The
working
steering
on
wheel?
what their plan is going to be. I thought for a moment they were going to use that car on the right side as a shield to try and get close to the suspect and help him that way. But it looks like they're going to continue issuing commands to the suspect and hopefully getting him to exit the vehicle in a proper manner, or at least find a way to
And his pants are down.
help him crawl out of the vehicle some other way.
It
Looks
does
like,
appear that
the
his
feet are
pants are
through the
stuck,
sunroof.
but here he is coming through. He's making
He's
progress
crawling
there.
out.
That was very
There
He
he is.
graceful.
rolls over, and it does
I'm
appear,
sorry to
judging
laugh.
by this kind of behavior, no, I
Yes.
mean it's
The
highly
dismount.
unusual. It does appear that this suspect may be under the influence of something because this is just not normal behavior.
Well,
He's
all of it.
rolling out of the vehicle, crawling on the floor, and LAPD just has to deal with it. They're going to continue issuing commands with him, and we can only hope that very shortly here
Man.
they're going to move in and just take this suspect
One of the
into
craziest
custody.
Look,
cases
the
I've
best
ever
possible
seen.
thing about this is that he is cooperating.
Exactly.
He has exited the vehicle. He is following their instructions. He is doing everything that they are telling him to do, we believe, at least based on what we're watching. So this is a good sign that this will end with no one being hurt. Again, we don't know how this all started and if anyone was hurt in the initial theft of this vehicle. We're told this is a grand theft auto situation, but based on what we're seeing, it looks like this is coming to an end.
Yeah, we know that they gave, they're obviously giving them lots of commands for them to kind of pull off their shirt and make sure that they don't have any more weapons. But we did see, Gabe, I think at least on 3 accounts that suspect taking something out of the vehicle, either throwing it on the freeway, throwing it on the side of the freeway.
Yeah, we definitely saw those 3 occurrences. One on the 110 North, where the suspect actually threw a gun out of the freeway, and out of the vehicle onto the freeway, and we were actually able to zoom in and confirm that it was a weapon. And we did see something else thrown out of the vehicle a little bit later on, and then of course that exchange with a bystander near the Crenshaw Boulevard off-ramp from the 10. Surely LAPD will be meeting with that individual to see what that was all about. And now that leads to the conclusion of this pursuit on Crenshaw Boulevard in Mid-City, where LAPD continues to have to treat this suspect as armed and dangerous. And now they have to also understand that he's possibly under the influence, so that may lead to erratic behavior. So that may be why LAPD is being fairly cautious with this, taking things very methodically and slowly, issuing commands, and then when they have the appropriate teams in place to move in and arrest this suspect, then they will do so. But they're going to definitely take their time to make sure that they can do that safely.
Yeah. And at the minimum, this is a terrible inconvenience for all of the people on the roads who have been affected by this pursuit. And then now the end of the pursuit here on Crenshaw Boulevard, you know, it's 4:20. This is, you know, high traffic, high commuter time, people trying to get home with their kids or leave work or do whatever they need to do. But Crenshaw is a busy road, and so
Here those officers come. They're going to clear the vehicle. They're going to make sure that no one else or nothing else of a dangerous capacity is in and around the vehicle. They're going to open the trunk, and now they're moving in from their vehicles towards the suspect, and they're going to grab one arm, they're going to grab the other arm, slap the cuffs on, and bring this to a conclusion. We're just glad from how erratically this pursuit got at the very end. We're just glad nobody else was hurt, except for maybe this suspect getting a little embarrassed there, exiting the vehicle.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, again, we're happy to see this come to an end, especially by the way that the suspects certainly changed their driving attitude. And he's really agitated right now, still yelling at the officers. We don't know what he's saying, but again, it really changed, going very, you know, within the speed limit on the freeway, and then just,
we were all concerned it was really going to escalate further and someone would be hurt.
Scary.
And we do believe that there was contact with another vehicle. Gabe Santos and Air 7 HD, thank you so much for your coverage of this. And Bruce Thomas, as always, thank you for your
And that was wild. Yeah, I think they cut the sound off. Okay, hang on. Let me stop sharing. Okay, let me